Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, Friday evening here for a casual UFC chat with some of the squad here from the Ramblin' and Gamblin' Sports Network. We've got Jason from the Damage Plan MMA. We've got James, UFC Deluxe. We've got Scott, and we've got myself. And we're just gonna be chatting UFC. So welcome if you're joining us later, or if you're joining us live. Glad to have you here. Card coming up is actually looking really good. I have decided that I feel better about this card than a lot of the cards that we've had in the past couple of months. I don't think we're going to have too mmany fights that are just complete bummers.
Aside from the Aspinelli fight.
Yeah, man, that's good. I'm interested to see that one. The last time I looked at the line today, I checked it, and I think he was a 470 favorite.
Whew. Is this Tom Aspinall?
Yeah. Well, because
we
were talking on the stream yesterday. So the guy that he's fighting fought in
not heavyweight, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's the light. He's used to be the fights at heavyweight, and this guy Badeau fought at light heavyweight, and he fought in Japan, and he fought like Japanese guys that didn't look like they were in the 205 division. Like it looked like he was fighting like middleweights that just didn't want to cut weight. And so it didn't look like high level competition. And he's moving up to fight. I mean, Tom Aspinall is like a legit heavyweight.
He can knock you the living daylights in one punch, mate. I've seen him just through his other days across Europe and in those sort of promotions. And that guy can fight. And he's got a decent, solid ground game as well, but he obviously hasn't needed to have used that yet so far in his career. But, you know, that power in those hands, I genuinely feel like it'll be a tough night at the office for Badeau. I don't know what he's doing in there. I don't know what he was smoking when he signed the contract to fight Tom Aspinall. But I reckon he'll get it done quick, Tom. I think he'll get it done in the first round. But, yeah, he'll knock him out instantly.
Who's what's your guys' fight of the night prediction? Anyone stand out? I think the Barbosa fight is going to be fight of the night. Is my take. When you guys have anything different?
No, I totally agree. Let's see if I can get something else.
I think Tracy Cortez versus Edgar is going to be a bomb. Like I think they're going to be swinging bombs on the feet.
Who do you like in that one, Scott?
I like Cortez. I think Cortez isn't going to want to go to the ground. I think she's going to be swinging tons of volume, and Edgar's going to be stuck in a spot where she's just forced to throw big bombs. And I think it's going to be fun.
I think we were split on that yesterday, weren't we, Burner?
I
can't remember.
Don't remember. I took Tracy pretty confidently.
I think you and Zach took Tracy, but I think me and Maceo liked Edgar on that one.
Yeah, she just swings, man. She's got hands. Like
I love her story, man. She's got a great backstory with her brother passing away fighting MMA, and she's picking up the torch, and it's neat to see that.
It's some Mulan shit, isn't it? It's like a family legacy style. Like you don't want to go against that.
Yeah, it's hard to bet against. We had a kid. We did an interview yesterday with a kid that's fighting next month, and he has a kid with Down syndrome, and he's all about fighting for his kids and fighting for his kid with Down syndrome. And he goes into this stuff. It's like, damn, how can you pick against this guy, man? And he's fighting a kid that we sponsor with Damage Plan. So it's like, man, I like both of these guys.
I felt, was it Walt Harris lost that fight? I felt so bad, man. I was rooting for him so hard.
And he was there too. He had him down. He had him rocked.
The first round, yeah.
But
I always love those fighters with that background story who've got something to fight for. Obviously, nowadays there's a lot of high-level athletes fighting just for the money, but you can tell the people who genuinely have a story and genuinely care about that background. They're going to want to fight for their family and fight for their legacy. And I like those people with that background because they're going to give 110% every time they step into that octagon, and they know the permutations of that fight, whether they win or lose. So, I'm all for those fighters who've got something to fight for, rather than those who just stepping in for the money and, I'll get a big payday and off I go to the next one.
Speaking of good stories, you guys heard of KB Buller's story with his brother?
No, what's his story?
No.
Yeah, so he was a pro fighter, went 4-0 in 2013. His brother was I believe an amateur fighter, broke his face in a fight, really tons of damage. So KB was like, wow, I can't do this to another guy. I'm happened to my brother. And he just quit MMA for 5 years, kept training, but said he just couldn't fight. one day his brother like said like, you took on my loss and you need to get back in there. Like, this is your dream. You gave up your whole dream for me, and now he's fighting again. It's a pretty inspirational story.
That's pretty badass.
Wow.
Did you guys see the weigh-ins this morning? He's a big dude.
Yeah.
KB?
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he is a big dude. Well, and he's got his last. I mean, it's rare that you see guys on the prelim cards that have had a 5-round fight in their life. I mean, his last fight was a 25-minute decision. So, yeah. I mean, that's valuable. I mean, that's valuable experience.
Yeah, I like that I think it's pretty cool that they've already got him a fight signed even after this one in the Contender Series about a month later on November 11th, it looks like.
Yeah, so what happens if he wins this fight? He doesn't go fight on the Contender Series, right?
Maybe
they should just give him a contract, like, permanently.
I think he was signed to fight on the Contender Series, and then a fight got pulled out, and then he took this one instead.
Yeah, I think so too, Scott. I think you're right on.
I think if he wins, I think from the UFC's point of view, if he wins this fight, it wouldn't make sense for them to have, like, if he wins the featured prelim on a Fight Island card, I feel like they can't have him go back and fight somebody that's fighting for a contract when he's already got a. Yeah, I don't. Would that make sense? I mean, he wouldn't have to really earn his spot at that point, would he?
True. Yeah. Unless he just wants to get. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense, really.
And it doesn't make sense for him because those fights aren't worth shit monetarily compared to an actual UFC fight.
Yeah, he'll have to put in some big shift in order to catch the attention of Dana White.
I think he only fights on the Contender Series if he loses, which is really kind of great for him because it's a win-win. Either way, he'll get a shot next month. If he loses, he'll get a shot next month. But if he wins, he just gets a contract. I assume.
Are any of you guys giving him a shot on the upset on this? Because I think Tom Breeze is a pretty big favorite, isn't he?
Nah, I think he's going to get his ass beat. But he's a good fighter.
I disagree. I think he's got a good chance. It's more just because I don't trust Tom Breeze at all. Like, the last 4 years has just been like injuries, panic attacks. He dropped a weight class, and his only win in that weight class was against 40-year-old Dan Kelly. He looked like he quit against his last fight against Brendan Allen. Sort of lost in a way that he's never lost before. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't trust the guy anymore.
Zach said that exact same thing yesterday when we did our breakdown. He was the only one out of the three of us that picked him for the upset because of that.
Yeah,
it's interesting. We might have to sprinkle a little bit on that.
I just think he's gonna get. I mean, if that's the situation, if he does have some kind of weird mental thing that's going on, then he should stop fighting professionally. But he's so big, he's so strong, he punches so hard. I feel like on paper he's supposed to win the fight, and in the past I've been really wrong, feeling like, oh, I gotta go on some more intangible things. So now I force myself to be kind of by the numbers. I'm like, nope, I'm just going based on, I ignore all the outside stuff, which has also bit me in the ass before too, when I've been like, nah, that's not going to affect the fight, and then it definitely does.
Hell yeah.
I've been thinking this for the Fight Island cards. I feel like it would be a much bigger, and we've seen some shitty fights that happen in early in the prelims on Fight Island in particular. I think the time thing affects some of those low-level fighters a lot, a lot.
They're getting up at 3 a.m. or something like that, isn't it?
I don't get it. Obviously, it's just to suit the America time, isn't it? But the UFC 254 pay-per-view is round about, I think the main card starts at about 10 p.m. In Abu Dhabi, sort of around that time. Because I know for us it's in the evening. So that suits the fighters completely. But having to get up you look at Adesanya versus Costa, he has to get up at bloody 6 a.m. to fight a main event. Has he ever done that before in his career? I don't think he has, honestly. It's certainly a weird one, and I genuinely think it has a mental effect on the fighters.
Yeah. Well, and traveling, it kind of, in some cases, it seems almost a little unfair. You take these fighters that just won on the Contender Series or something, and they're just trying to make their way in the UFC as a professional fighter, and then you put them on a plane. Some of these kids have never left the country in their life, and you put them on a plane and you fly them to the Middle East and you have them, fight at fucking 3 a.m. it almost seems a little unfair to those really low-level guys. I mean, I'm sure it's the experience of a lifetime and they're happy to do it, but in terms of their fight performance, they're really not doing them any favors by flying them to the other side of the world and making them fight in the middle of the night like that.
Yeah. Did you guys I saw earlier that they were trying to make Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal for an interim title fight. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Was that you, James, that put that out there?
I definitely saw that they're doing a 5-round fight, but then I've also heard rumors of like a co-main fight at 256, or whether they're going to add something else to it. But obviously you've got Amanda Nunes fighting Megan Anderson on that card as well. I heard, I don't know, this might be just like a wild card, but I've also seen a couple of people go, you know what, throw the BMF title on the line. It's definitely going to be a 5-round. I think everyone in the UFC or any MMA fan wants to see that as a 5-round. Main event. I think it should be a main event personally. Like, that fight between Covington and Masvidal can headline any fight card or what have you. So it definitely deserves to be a main event. A co-main, I think that's a bit disrespectful to both fighters, because you look at Jorge Masvidal on paper. I know he lost convincingly to Kamaru Usman, stepped in on 6 days' notice. But I don't know if you saw the figures after the fight. The numbers did almost the same as Conor McGregor Khabib did back in 2018. So to instantly throw him on a co-main event, I think that's a bit disrespectful to both fighters in a way, with Colby Covington looking to get back in the title mix. And it's certainly a good fight because, as you lads know, there's certainly some tension between the pair. They've had their beef in the past. Stick it as a main event. Throw the BMF title on the line. I mean, why not? Let's get creative.
As the pay-per-view main event?
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Could you see it being? If it was a fight night, if it wasn't a pay-per-view, it would definitely have to be the main event. But could you see it being the co-main on one of the pay-per-view cards for a title fight or something?
It depends.
Because it's not. I still kind of see it as like, I love that fight, and I'm sure the UFC, I feel like they'd rather have it on a pay-per-view card, but it's not a title fight, so it shouldn't be the main event on a pay-per-view card, in my opinion. Or I like to have the title fights as the. I
agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
If I'm paying for it, I want there to be a belt on the line.
Yeah, I agree too. Even if it's the interim title, which it sounds like they might try to go for. Like you said, with Jorge on there, that's a huge draw. Like, that's going to sell pay-per-views. You got to think that the reason that the Usman Masvidal fight did so well was because Jorge. Masvidal. Usman's not selling pay-per-views, in my opinion.
When's Amanda fight?
December.
That's in the middle of December, right? That's the 12th.
That's the 256. Yeah, the 12th.
Yeah. Is there a co-main for that?
I don't know, because obviously Kamaru or Usman was sort of scheduled for December, and obviously that's going early 2021, February sometime. So there's a main event slot waiting in the wings for 256. Whether they'll promote Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson, bump that up to main event, I don't know. But it's certainly a tough one, because 255 and 256 has lost a couple of fights over the past couple of weeks or so. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that.
If I'm Dana personally, I think I put it as the co-main for the Amanda card on 256 to get all those extra casual pay-per-view buys, even though it's not the name of the event. I think, unfortunately, you get a much less of a draw for a women's headliner fight on a pay-per-view card than you do for some of these guys that are out there. And Amanda's kind of a professional champion too, which doesn't get in the casual viewers. So if I'm Dana, I'm putting it as the co-main on that pay-per-view with Amanda as the headline.
It's so tough. I want to see it headline. From my personal opinion, I don't think both fighters are going to want to compete on the co-main event. Even if it is booked as the co-main event, I think both Covington and Masvidal are going to think, well, this is the people's main event, and we're going to entertain the fans. I genuinely believe that if they're going to book that fight, which obviously they will, it has to be a main event. I think so.
Well, you got Poirier and McGregor hanging out there too.
Oh, don't. Honestly, I hope that happens this year. My God, my heart is pounding.
They both agreed. They both want it on one of these end of November or first week of December. They both want it.
Don't. Come on, Dana. If there was ever a time to work your magic, now is that time. They've got to do it at the end of 2020. They have to, because the longer it goes on, then the longer it's obviously not going to happen, and then eventually Tony Ferguson might creep his name back into the fight with Dustin Poirier, and then where's that leave McGregor now? So if there's a time to do it, it's now, and it has to happen in 2020, from my opinion anyway. I don't know about you boys.
Yeah, he's Ferguson's already been tweeting. He's been stirring the pot a little bit, trying to get his name back in there.
Is he moving to welterweight? Did I see that?
I heard Diaz.
Oh, really?
Was it Nick or Nate? I think it was Nick. I want to say it was Nick Diaz.
I think Nick, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a weird one. I just stick to 155. I know he's a big, you look at him on paper, he's a big 155 according to Ferguson. I stick to 155. There's certainly a path to a title shot again for Ferguson.
Give him
I don't know
Michael
who he
Chandler.
Fights.
Give him Michael Chandler.
Yeah,
give it to him.
Or Charles Oliveira, or Dan Hooker.
Even though I think. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, James.
Oh no, I was going to say I think Michael Chandler will get Dan Hooker as his first UFC opponent.
Yeah, I think they're kind of holding him back though, just in case something happens with the Khabib fight, right? Is what I was reading. Yeah, so it's probably not smart for him to take that fight, just in case something happens there.
Islam doesn't have a fight. RDA's pulled out.
Who?
Apparently, Dos Anjos has pulled out.
He's got COVID.
Islam.
He's got COVID, doesn't he? Didn't he test positive for COVID?
I think so, but he's definitely not fighting. Obviously, if I've seen Cormier and a couple of people tweet out, Michael Chandler's going to Abu Dhabi, give him a fight, and Islam's waiting. Obviously, he competes at 155. It's a bit of a risk on both fighters' parts, really, because you look at Islam, there's certainly talent there, but he's not as active as he should be. And Michael Chandler, I don't know, he's certainly a tough guy. Obviously, at Bellator, we've seen him. So does he step in and fight Islam, or is he going to want that bigger fight?
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I mean, if I'm Michael Chandler, I'm kind of waiting until the last minute to see if I can't slide into that championship fight. Yeah. That would be my option. I don't know what you guys think, but
yeah, man, I'll tell you what. I don't want to see I want to see Khabib and Justin Gaethje fight. I would be so extraordinarily disappointed if that was anything besides that.
Scott, what's your take on that fight? We've talked about it on here a little bit. What's your take on that fight?
Khabib Gaethje?
Yeah.
I think Gaethje has a better shot against Khabib than anyone else, but I mean, we watched Edson hit Khabib with leg kicks. It didn't really affect anything. We've watched Khabib fight better strikers. Like I don't know. I don't think anyone's beating Khabib.
I have to go with you on that one.
Yeah,
I agree. There's not a person that I see really realistically beating Khabib. Is he gonna? He said he has something big from Dana for 30, right? For his 30th fight.
I think it's St. Pierre. I really do.
Really?
Does really he come do. Back? If you watched and look at his pictures and the stuff he's been posting, he looks extremely lean, like smaller, like he's losing, like he's trying to get to a certain weight. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, that's a huge fight. You throw
Khabib. His last fight was at middleweight. Does he cut down to all the way to 155? Or do they do 165?
5'10", 39 years old.
But if you look at him right now, I bet you he's 170 or less right now. If you see the pictures, see his videos that he's posting, he's nowhere near 185.
If there's anyone that can do it and cut down that way, it's definitely George St. Pierre, 100%. But it's a big risk.
That's an interesting fight. Even though I think Khabib still wins, but I want to see it.
I'm Canadian. Yeah. I don't even want to see GSP fight again.
I like him retired. There's a certain mystique about George St. Pierre with him retiring when he did, not being super old, not doing the no offense, Donald, but the cowboy tour. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain mystique about his retirement. As a fan of his, I don't really want to see him come back and fight again.
Yeah, I mean, no, I totally agree.
It'd be a huge money grab putting those two on there. I mean, yes, I mean, just getting St. Pierre's name on that headliner would be with Khabib. It's big.
I don't know if I want to see it. I mean, it could potentially sort of hamper George's legacy on paper. You know, he's came out after, what was it, a 3-year layoff to fight Michael Bisping. won the middleweight title, became 2-division champion, obviously won the welterweight title, and went on that unprecedented run. Why come back? I mean, there's just too much at stake potentially for Pierre's legacy. And it's a perfect fight for Khabib to get that 30-0 and ride off into the sunset and potentially take over his father's legacy with the gym. But if I'm a GSP fan, I genuinely don't want to see him step back in the cage. I mean, it's a big fight. No doubt it'll do numbers, but I just don't think he'll cut all the way down to 155. I mean, I've seen his interviews, but he's sort of teasing and hinting at stuff. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen pictures of him in training right now. But if you're saying he's in training, he's in shape right now, I believe that. And like I said, if there's anyone that can cut all the way down, it's definitely Georges St-Pierre, because just his motivation and his mindset over the years is just second to none, man. My God, that guy loves mixed martial arts. He's a true mixed martial artist. And you know what? If he does come back, I'll commend him. Round of applause, fair play to stepping against a guy like Khabib. That's not. No one wants Khabib right now. I mean, he's 28-0, and for a guy like GSP, who, like you said, he's 39, he's retired. His last fight was in 2017. So to come back in 2021 and fight Khabib and go toe to toe with him, I've got nothing but respect for GSP. I don't think he'll win, but if he does step in the octagon again, why not? But I just don't think I want to see it from my sort of standpoint.
Yeah. Do we know when we're getting Stipe Ngannou 2? Do we know when?
Ngannou wanted December.
Oh, that's soon.
Happen. Yeah, but I don't think that will happen. I don't think has Miocic got another child on the way? I don't know. I've heard somebody say that.
I don't know.
I don't see Stipe fighting again this year.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He seems very situated. He'll fight when he gets to it, when he wants to do a camp. And
and rightly so in a way.
Yeah, I don't see those guys fighting this year. I'd like to see it. I'd like to throw them on there.
I just want to see Francis fight again, and I know he's not going to fight anybody besides Stipe. So
does he beat Stipe this time?
I think it's a really, really, really good fight this time.
He's definitely learned a lot from the first fight, but does he beat him again?
Yeah,
I think Stipe's only got. I think Stipe's got not like several years left of being. It's not like he's going to defend the title 6 times from this point onwards. I mean, he fights Francis, and if he beats Francis, I think Francis goes and beats somebody else, and then somebody eventually beats Stipe here if he keeps defending his title. I mean, there's a lot of big up and coming dudes, and if you give them 2 years, there's going to be somebody that can beat Stipe for sure. And Francis will end up with the title. I'm pretty thoroughly 100%. Convinced. I don't see any path where in 2 years we haven't seen Francis Ngannou as the champion in the heavyweight division.
But if Miocic retires, say after his next fight, who does obviously Francis Ngannou is going to be one of the contenders? Who does he fight? Because he's already fought Curtis Blades twice and won both of them.
It's a good question.
Rematch with who was this? That shitty fight was him and Derek Lewis, right?
That was horrible.
That was a terrible fight, but it shouldn't have been. They're both great fighters. I think we deserve a good fight from them.
He's fighting Blades in November, isn't he? Derek Lewis.
I believe so. Yeah, that'll be a banger.
My balls is hot.
My balls is high. I understand.
That's a 5 round though, isn't it? That's the main event. Am I right? I think.
I'd love to. If he gets that win and gets a couple more wins. I mean, what a timeline would it be if Alistair Overeem gets another win or 2 over some really big ranked opponents, and then we get to see Alistair Overeem's last fight be like for the title against Francis Ngannou. I mean, can you imagine?
I'd love to see him win that belt. He's a true veteran of MMA, and to cap it all off with the title, what a story that would be. But who does Alistair Overeem fight next? I don't know, because he's called for a rematch with Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
That's the fight to make.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Scott. He's got to rematch that, because that fight was his. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know until obviously that last couple of seconds where It's a shame for Alistair Overeem, but obviously he's learned from that. He got a couple of big wins under his belt since. So, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's not many fights out there at heavyweight, but Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Overeem was certainly the one to make, and Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis are coming up. So maybe the winner of potentially Rozenstruik and Overeem goes on to fight the winner of Blades Lewis. That'll certainly be an interesting one.
And then we kind of emerge with a true, like, not new number one contender besides Francis, like a number two contender. Because it is kind of, I mean, he's the obvious number one contender for the belt. So but we don't really have a clear number two. It doesn't seem to me.
Yeah.
At all, kind of.
The heavyweight division is kind of interesting. It's like usually that's the one everybody looks forward to. Now you're starting to see those, the 135s, the 145, the 155, the 170. Like those are the ones that people are wanting to watch now.
Yeah.
A little more excitement from those guys.
I'm hoping for a renaissance. I'm hoping we'll see a big win from Tom Aspinall. We saw a big win from Juan Espino. I'm hoping for a little bit of a renaissance with some younger guys in the heavyweight division. You know me, Jason. I'm a big fan of the heavyweights.
You know who really impressed me, and I'm his name. You guys have to, if you can remember it. It was he fought in the UFC card. He was one of the first ones over there on Fight Island. He was from Ryzen. He was like 26-0. Gosh, what was his name? His light heavyweight. He looked freaking amazing.
Jury.
Yeah.
I can't think of his last name.
Yeah, he was like, he's undefeated, like 22 out of 26 KOs. Like, and he just came in and who did he fight?
Ozdemir, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ozdemir.
Yuri Pazachka.
And he finished him and like that. That was impressive, man. What's funny is I was talking to I had a guy renting a room for me that fights in the UFC, and he had told me he had known about this guy. So I was asking him on who I should bet, and he's like, "Don't sleep on that guy. Like he is legit." Like, so I'm like, I don't even know who he is, but I'm throwing money on him. I was like, "Holy shit, thank you! You just won me $25." Yeah.
I mean, bar Chimaev, I think Yuri Pazachka certainly stole the show in the first rendition of Fight Island. I mean, the way he tore Ozdemir apart and knocked him out brilliantly. No one expected that at all. I mean,
no.
For those watching, those promotions where he was fighting across Europe and Asia, maybe they would have expected something spectacular in his debut. Certainly for the UFC fans, they didn't know who this guy was. But a lot of his, like you said, 22 of his wins have come via stoppages, and a lot of them have come via first-round wins. So, certainly from their perspective, for him to come out and perform the way he did, they weren't really surprised. And immediately after that win with Ozdemir, he's even put his name in the mix for a light heavyweight title already, and he's only fought once.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he should fight Rakic next.
Yes.
That would be a banger. That would be a banger.
Did you guys see Bellator's card for tomorrow with Michael Page and Ross Houston? They're the co-main event, which
I did not.
I don't know if you guys follow that too much. I'll watch it. I don't follow it too much, but I want to see Michael Page and Ross Houston. I don't really care for the main events, Czech Congo and Tim Johnson. I don't really care about that, but I do like that co-main event. I
was watching some Sambo the other day, and that was very exciting.
Really?
You guys ever watch Sambo?
Never watched it.
Yeah, it was because I was watching Khabib highlights. It's like MMA, but without walls. I mean, it's on like a flat, like wrestling style mat, but they're kickboxing and they're throwing and they're grappling and they're wrestling. So, I mean, there's just no walls on the cage. There's just like a circle on the ground that you have to stay inside of, but it's straight up mixed martial arts.
Well, that's why that style carries over into the UFC so well. All those Sambo guys are legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't back against a Sambo guy. Obviously, if they've got a strong Sambo background, then they're going to win their fight. And obviously, look at Khabib; he's bloody 28-0.
If they're from Russia and they have a Sambo background, you probably better put your money on them.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man! Lots of
one of
his
teammates fighting this weekend. Tagir Ulabenkov, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, the first fight of the evening are flyweights.
Yeah. That's Khabib's teammate.
The flyweights or bantamweights?
120, 125.
125, yeah, they're fighting that. And they're, Ulambikov is 5'7", which for flyweights is actually pretty. I mean, it sounds funny to say that's a big guy for the weight class, but like for the 125 division, 5'7" is pretty big. I mean, Silva's only 5'4".
Yeah. He's a very big underdog on this one, isn't he? Yeah,
Silva is, yeah. He's a pretty big underdog. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, though. If there's a card to bet the underdogs on, it's this card.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of except Badeau. I want to offer a warranty to our viewers. That is not. I know that's the biggest underdog on the card, and I don't recommend it.
Who have you got there for the Chikadze Morales fight? Because I know Morales is coming down from lightweight.
Morales. I took Morales.
I did as well. Yeah.
I like Giga.
You like Giga?
Yeah, I'm going for the underdog in this one. Like you said, it's not for the underdog, so I'm going for Giga.
Yeah, I mean, that's one you could just flip a coin. What about, I know James and Scott weren't on with us yesterday. What about the Impa, Sandhagen, and Buckley? Yaquin Buckley.
I had said that Buckley's going to knock him out because he's got some much heavier hands.
Yeah, I can see it. I just think Impa, obviously, is undefeated. He's on such a great run at the moment. He's had so much success in the Contender Series and, those quickly back-to-back fights. And I genuinely believe, but again, I could totally agree with you. I think we can come out there and knock him out. I just think Impa certainly has the ability to certainly stand, not necessarily trade, but cope with those technical strikes from Joaquin. So I think this one does go the full 15, but it's certainly going to be I can see why I think he's going to knock him out. Did you predict first round or second?
Yeah, I mean, if the fight ends up in the third round, I think Impa's going to win, whether it's by TKO or by decision. But I think Buckley's going to end it in the first round or early second round.
I just think Impa is just very well rounded in his approach. I think he's able to sort of stay clear of Buckley's big haymakers, and I think he can capitalize on Buckley's mistakes if he does show any flaws in the game. I think he's very effective in his striking. So that's probably why I'm going to go for an Impa, because he's very technical and very well-rounded in his approach. If he can stay away from those early bombs from Buckley, I think he's got the full the other win in the bag, which will take him to 9-0, I believe.
Yeah.
He's legit.
Yeah, I agree. I like Impa too. I think you're right that Buckley's a better striker. I just think that his takedown defense and cardio just lacks too much. That's
the one thing that scares me a little bit is the cardio. But Impa's, he grinded out his last fight. He was pushing the pace, but he was pretty gassed. Not that fight. No, I'm not thinking of that fight. I'm thinking of the fight before the Patoli fight, the Contender Series fight.
Yeah.
If Buckley doesn't win, in the first 6 minutes of the fight, I don't think he wins the fight at all. But so that was my reasoning on it. But there are many paths to victory for Impa Sandhagen.
What's the current odds on that? I think. Yeah, Impa's minus 245. Fair
favorite. Or for this card, that's actually a pretty big favorite, huh?
And it's favored to go to distance too, believe it or not. Almost 2-1 to go to the distance. Interesting.
To go the distance?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or at least make it into the third round. Sorry, it's not necessarily to go the distance. Go to get to the third round. Go over 2.
Well, I had said what did I say yesterday when we were talking on the stream? I had noticed that Impa kind of fights like somebody that is a KO artist, like somebody that's got cinder blocks in their hands, but he doesn't really. The results that his individual strikes get don't reflect that style of fighting. It seems like a lot of the time, actually, he's expecting to knock a guy out, and he ends up having to hit him 6 or 7 more times.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him capitalize in this fight. His path to victory for me, I'd like to see him capitalize more on the distance with his good kickboxing, with accurate strikes from distance. Sometimes he gets into the pocket and it's not to his advantage. And in this fight, it is definitely not to his advantage to get into the pocket and slug it out.
Yeah.
I think if he's smart, he'll just expose Buckley's takedown defense. I think he's got really poor takedown defense, and Impa has. I don't think Impa's a great wrestler, but it's much better than what Buckley is.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you. I think he does have a round or just over a round to knock him out, and then it becomes an Impa fight, really, where he controls it for the rest of the fight for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Should be a good fight.
It should be a good fight. I think it's a striking heavy card, I would say.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of submission artist heavy cards recently, just because that seems like kind of the state of MMA these days. Everybody knows that it's easier to be a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and learn how to box than it is to be a boxer and learn how to wrestle and do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and everything else. Like that's striking. It seems like is easier to learn as a second language for fighting than wrestling. So we're starting to see that kind of influx of everybody knowing how to do a ground game if they're going to be successful in even the regional MMA scene.
And obviously in the fight after that, there's a clash up in styles with the knockout artist and a submission one in Chris Daukaus versus Rodrigo Nascimento.
Yeah.
Obviously you got knockout guy in Chris and a very accomplished ground game grappler in Rodrigo. That's going to be an interesting one to watch. So I've seen 50-50 split on this one, whereby people think Chris can knock him out in the first round, but then I've also seen Rodrigo getting it done early. So who have you got for that one?
I think Rodrigo ends up getting him down. I think they're going to end up in the clinch fairly quickly, and I think Rodrigo just ends up getting him down and submits him. But Chris obviously has some heavy hands. He's that guy that he's either knocking you out or he's getting knocked out. Like it's kind of been his track record. What's the odds on that one? Let's see.
Not too narrow. Daukaus is a fair underdog. Should be over 200 underdog.
Oh, no, I can't find it. Dang it. Oh, well. We won't mess with it. Who do you like in that one, Scott?
I like Nascimento. I think there's some recency bias on Daukaus due to the Chris Parker Porter knockout.
Yeah.
If you look at his record before he got to the UFC, 8-3. He'd beaten 8 guys with losing records and lost to 3 guys with winning records. Parker Porter is the first guy with a winning record he's ever beaten. And, I mean, Nascimento is 8-0 out of the ATT, only 27 years old, BJJ black belt. It seems.
I like it.
I find Chris Daukaus to be a fairly incomplete fighter personally. Like, in the grand scheme of heavyweights that I like, I don't know. I don't see. He doesn't really have like a skill set. He's just really big and he hits really hard, and that'll get you through regional MMA and into the UFC. Honestly, at a certain point, if you're big enough and you hit hard enough, that'll get you through. But I think this is where he kind of meets his wall of hitting he's a police officer too. He's not a full-time fighter, so I think this is where he hits his wall of professional fighters. I think that we've reached the level where Chris Daukaus is going to go in the UFC. I don't think he's really going higher, and I think this is where he hits his wall. He loses this fight fairly handily on the ground and in the clinch and anywhere besides standing in the middle of the octagon striking with this guy.
So I would say the bet to make is I kind of like the under 1.5 rounds at -135. If you don't want to touch Rodrigo at over 2.5 to 1 favorite.
I think we're going to see. My prediction was a submission in like the second round, like a fairly early in the fight submission.
Yeah, if it goes, you're getting plus money if you take that.
My resistance to that would be that Daukaus is actually a BJJ black belt as well. Turns out a Martinez BJJ and has like a really sick bottom game. I don't like he has great sweeps. I don't think it's going to be enough for him to beat out the elite level jiu-jitsu of Nascimento, but it might be enough to survive.
To survive the first round. So that's a good take. So everybody listening, it's a good one.
I do like heavyweights. I do like on this card, Big Ben Rothwell. I hope he gets I hope he gets an old school Ben Rothwell first round, just like big overhand right KO. I just want to see it. I want to feel that excitement again. I like Ben Rothwell.
Yeah, I do too in this one, but I think he'll get it done by a decision.
Again.
I'm hoping for a big knockout, like you said, but I just don't know. He's just been there's something missing in his last couple of fights. I know he's getting on a bit, isn't he? He's very getting on towards the end of his career. So I don't know. I hope to God we see that, traditional classical Ben Rothwell knockout. And, he's certainly made his presence known over the years, but I just don't know. He can, obviously, like you said, he's very capable of punching the living daylights out of you very early on. Very technical in his striking, and he hits hard. But I don't know. I think this goes a full 15, man. Honestly, do.
I think if he loses, but I honestly think even if he wins by decision again, he's going to retire like within a day of the end of the fight. Like if it's like a hard fought decision where he just can't really get it done, and then it's like a split decision at the end and he ends up winning.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the interviews I've seen with him this week and after his last fight, I think he retires unless he finishes and gets a win.
Yeah, convincingly. Because he took some time off, didn't he? When he lost to Blagoy Ivanov, he was gone for like 3 years, wasn't he? Because his last fight was Junior Dos Santos back in 2016 and took a couple years off.
Yeah, he took 3 years off after that loss to Dos Santos. And then he came back with back-to-back losses with Ivanov and Arlovsky.
Was it voluntary time off or USADA, though?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe he was hiding under the ring. He smoked a blunt and he was hiding under the cage.
John Jones-esque. Learning from the best.
What's your guys' take on PED use in mixed martial arts? Are you guys like against it totally, or would you say? We've talked about this on our podcast, and Zach and I both are in agreement that if I'm taking something and my opponent agrees to it, who cares?
Yeah, I think I actually have spent a very long time kind of looking, like doing research. There's a couple of really good books on the subject, but doing research into why like USADA is a thing and why the view of using performance, because back in the day, if you look back to like old Olympic marathons back when they in the 1800s when they were first starting to do the Olympics, it was viewed taking performance, and they were taking like rat poison and drinking whiskey and shit while they were running the marathon, but it was viewed as like a dedication to your craft. It was like you're willing to do the extra mile, you're willing to alter your body because you're a professional at like the sport that you're participating in. It was viewed as like whatever you do, anytime there was a new, like in cycling, professional cycling, they were taking amphetamines and stuff, and it was viewed as like, what's the next big thing that we can get so that athletes can perform better? And it was viewed as like dedication to your craft. And then over the course of time, it's shifted to general sports just having this view of performance enhancing drugs as being like a bad thing, as it being cheating, but it hasn't always been viewed that way. And I don't personally view it that way. I'm very realistic about how many professional athletes are taking performance enhancing drugs of some kind, and it's most of them in any sport. People like to say like, oh, well, that it's just these certain guys, or it's these guys that are hitting big home runs in bait. It's not. And there's so many different kinds of steroids that fall into the category of like USADA testing. I mean, you've got direct performance enhancing drugs, like if you're taking like Adderall and amphetamine to like boost your reaction time, or if you're taking extraneous testosterone to build extra muscle, or if you're taking human growth hormone because your leg got snapped in half and you need to be able to like regrow those ligaments. And there's just the idea of having every single one of those things categorized the same and being illegal for a professional athlete who we expect to go into a cage for 15 to 25 minutes and beat another human being using their limbs as weapons is just patently ridiculous to me. It's the same with like NFL football and everything. Like the idea that we want these guys to get paid millions of dollars sometimes to play a professional sport and to hit other professional athletes with their bodies and to use their bodies as a tool for our entertainment, but we expect them to like play fair and not take any sort of it's a ridiculous idea to me that we would be able to keep performance enhancing drugs out of sport, because that's really limiting human performance because of recovery time and because of the limits of the human body. So I am for whenever I see people freaking out about like, oh, well, this guy took steroids, he's a cheater. I just think it's patently ridiculous. And there's a lot of guys that I'm a fan of that have gotten busted for taking steroids over the years in various sports.
Give these guys, make them put a list to say, hey, this is what I'm taking. Send it over to your opponent and agree on it.
I bet there's a lot. They're taking a lot of the same shit. It's just who can pass drug tests with USADA. It's just who can be clean during their 100%, drug tests.
100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm from England, and if we see anyone in a competitive match cheating, you know, we're going to be the first to throw a song and dance about it and cry about it. So, with regards on my standpoint on that, I don't know. I think it's always a bit of a weird one, because you look at cyclists and professional cyclists, I mean, Christ, the amount of performance enhancing drugs they take is ridiculous. With the UFC and the MMA and the MMA, I don't know. So certainly from my perspective, in my sort of world growing up in sports, performance enhancing drugs is wrong. You know, you shouldn't do it, regardless of your upbringing, and if you really need to take that illegal substance to sort of quicken your recovery time or make yourself look better in the fights. And I don't know. I can see, obviously, after listening to your Bern and Jason, your views, I totally get where you're coming from. But I think totally now looking at it, I genuinely don't think that it should be banned. It should be banned full stop. But there's doctors and scientists nowadays where fighters come to, and they can easily, cleverly work around the system and break the various rules that the UFC, USADA, what have you set. So it's very easy, I think, to break the rules nowadays. So there's definitely high-level fighters out there now that are on it, and none of us would expect, you know, someone, you know, say just hypothetically speaking, could be tested positive for such and such and was banned for such a long time. None of us would have seen it coming. And, you know, he could then come out and admit he's been taking this substance for a long time and no one would have noticed. So there's definitely ways in which you can work around the system and work around the regulations. But with my opinion, I think it's wrong. I mean, I get that you're going to take these performance enhancing drugs to quicken your recovery time. But, you know, we're living in a game whereby there's drugs obviously there for the taking with some athletes. But at the end of the day, whether it's 11v11 or 1v1 in the cage, it's got to be a fair fight and a fair competitive match, because once you start bringing drugs and what have you into it, then it just becomes a bit of a mismatch, in my opinion. And it's unfair for those who are clean, who are taking it seriously, and, you know, who aren't having to use PEDs to increase and enhance their performance. So that's where I stand on that.
I think the issue with openly allowing performance enhancing drugs is that you essentially encourage young athletes to take it, high school athletes that aren't equipped to deal with those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it would have to definitely be closely monitored. You know, I think at a professional level with the treatment these guys are getting, with the doctors they're seeing, I kind of lean more towards Burner, but I also compete in bodybuilding shows too. So
well, and I've never taken anything extraneous, but I've considered it. I used to bodybuild a little bit. And there is a case to be made, and I don't know if I'm in this camp, but there is a case that I've seen made where, in a sense, the performance enhancing drugs give you more of an even playing field, because you're not limited by because some people just have like more testosterone running through their body, and some people just had human growth hormone running through their body for longer before their growth plate closed. And so in a sense, it really, if people are allowed to take performance enhancing drugs on both sides, it brings it a lot more down to skill, because everybody kind of has that gives not everybody naturally has the ability to become a freak athlete, but that kind of gives everybody the ability to become a freak athlete. And then we can see whose skill, without being limited by their body, whose skill is better. And I guess I do view it that way sometimes, where it's like, you know, I don't want to see a guy have to fight at 75% because he got his leg fucked up 6 months ago in a fight and his knee cartilage hasn't been able to grow back. And so now this guy's just got to fight at 75%. Some would say that that's like the fair playing field. That's, you know, you have to deal with the limitations of your body. But I would say, well, if we want to see them fight professionally in front of millions of people on TV, we should let them fix themselves up in between the fights.
Well, look at what the UFC does with recreational drugs. These guys can take a recreational drug pretty much their whole camp. They just have to test clean, 6 hours before or 6 hours after, and after the fight. So they could technically be snorting lines of cocaine, you know, smoking weed the whole time. And that's technically, is that, I shouldn't say technically, would you consider that being an advantage for one fighter if he's smoking weed to help him sleep at night, or, you know, doing a line of coke before he freaking goes and trains one day? And is that a line that's crossed if they're doing that, if they're allowed to do that?
Well, who decides what's performance enhancing?
I don't know what the breakdown is. I just, like I said, I had a guy that was renting a room for me that fought in the UFC, and USADA actually came to my house, and I won't say his name, but and I know that there was some marijuana usage, and I was freaked out. I'm like, shit, like USADA's here, like this guy's gonna get in trouble. So I talked to him after. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Are you gonna be able to fight? He's like, oh, it's okay. He's like, they don't even test for recreational stuff. So he literally can smoke weed. He's like, I usually do it up until about a month before the fight, and then I'll stop so that I can make sure I'm clean before the fight. But would you consider that an advantage and performance enhancing?
No,
I don't think so. No.
Well, and you can gain, like with the cyclists when they're doing EPO cycling and they're putting more highly oxygenated blood into their body. I mean, you can do that by going and living on top of a mountain and running 10 miles a day for 6 months like Khabib does. I mean, you can make your body do that itself. Doing EPO cycling is just a faster way to do it. But like, it's probably cheaper than flying and living on a mountain for 6 months. So at what point, you know, is that an advantage for a fighter against their opponent if they have the ability to go and live on a mountain for 6 months as opposed to having to like stay at home and do another job?
Yeah, you take a fighter from Denver or from Salt Lake City, where I'm from, that's used to the elevation. You take him and let him have a fight in Florida or California.
They got more oxygen in their blood down there. That's just how it's set up. But that's what EPO does. I mean, that's the exact science behind why cyclists take EPO is to have more oxygen in their blood. It does the same thing as altitude training.
What's crazy about the cyclists, it's like a witch hunt with those guys because every one of those guys do it. It's not a secret. Yeah. It's like they're all doing it. So why knock on the guy that's doing it that's just better than everybody else? That's bullshit. I do like what Scott brought up, a really good point that making me think about, you know, I definitely wouldn't want that being promoted to the kids. Or, I mean, obviously I compete, I do bodybuilding shows, but I'm older. I'm in my 40s. I've been lifting for a long time, and I'll get clients of mine that are competing that are in their 20s, and they say, well, do I have to take something or this and that? And at a local level, no, in bodybuilding world. At a national level, if you're not, you're gonna get creamed, and that's just the facts in that world.
Yeah, I think I'd rather watch the occasional or even the often uneven matchups, like you were talking about how if some guys are doing it, some guys aren't. It's uneven, and we have to deal with that.
That's true.
To not have to deal with the fact that we have 13-year-old wrestlers that are gonna be like, 100%. Oh, well, Jordan Burroughs is taking whatever, so I have to take whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with that. I'd rather have uneven matchups.
I agree with you on that one.
They do have to put on a front of discouraging it. Definitely. I think
look at the bodybuilders. They don't. I mean, you don't see those guys, the Mr. Olympia guys, promoting, "Hey, I'm taking this and this and this." Like, I mean, you'll see it.
And for their sponsors, they all lie. It's rare to get a guy.
This protein, put on 10 pounds of protein or 10 pounds of muscle in 30 days.
Yeah, rub this and it burns fat. Rub this cream right on the fat. It burns it through the skin. Yeah.
Spray this deer antler spray on your balls and you'll inch on your arms.
Yeah. But I mean, that's more of a problem with societies that people don't want to put the effort in, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
And everybody will take any shortcut that's offered to them. And that's the thing is people that are like, you know, young bodybuilders and stuff that are, I think people think steroids just make you big. That's another, like, people don't understand how steroids work in the first place, how the different performance enhancing drugs work, you know, that would be, if that was taught along with like recreational drugs that they teach you about in school, maybe that would be a more comprehensive health education, but we're really branching out there. But yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. They do have to discourage it publicly to avoid anybody thinking that it's okay in a situation where they shouldn't be taking anything.
I do feel the marijuana thing is a little out of control, but
I have more of an issue with fighters that know the rule and continue to fail.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. Especially when you know you can do it up till 6 hours before the fight as long as you test positive, which probably means for a lot of guys, because they're leaner and they're not carrying as much fat, so that's not staying around in their system as long. 2 weeks out and you're clean?
Yeah,
if you're smoking a lot 2 weeks out, yeah,
exactly. Like you nailed that one, Scott. It's like, yeah, that's just stupidity there.
Yeah, I think unless you're intoxicated during the fight, I don't see any recreational drug as being a performance enhancer. So I don't think it should matter in terms of their and for any professional athlete. I don't think any professional athlete should ever receive a sanction from something that they didn't get criminally charged for. Like if they just fail there shouldn't be a recreational drug test except for like in terms of during the actual match being intoxicated.
Let them smoke a bowl before they go in the cage.
I have never boxed not high.
I played basketball with a kid that literally every time we'd go to the game, he'd be out in his truck, blaze. I don't know how he did it. The kid had the most energy on the court, up and down, never sat. I'm like blown away.
I smoke before I run, before I go to the gym to lift, before I go and box.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I don't drink alcohol anymore though, so I got some weird body chemistry going on.
They say Nick Diaz fought Gomi while high.
I believe him.
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. The Diaz bros. What a time. I'm so glad I was around for that when that was like the big, huge thing in the UFC was the Diaz bros.
It's a great era.
It's a great era.
If Nick returns, who does he fight?
Condit.
Or does he return? Condit.
I like the Connor. Or you said Condit or Connor?
Condit.
I thought you said Connor, and I was going to say,
No.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Do you think he comes back the same Diaz we knew before?
Not the same.
No. Well,
no.
he's going to come back the same on a fight. He's going to end up from a fight losing streak to a 6-fight losing streak.
The same as immediately before this break. You don't think he comes back revitalized?
Depends what he's been doing for those God knows how many years.
Probably smoking weed. And
those guys are in shape though. They do stay in shape.
Oh yeah, they're always in
like
shape.
triathlons and stuff. Those guys they stay in shape.
Yeah. That is a
Depends how
long.
motivated he is.
It's been a long time though.
100%. You know, the game's changed. It changes all the time. But does Nick come in to immediately come straight back in, get it back on the win column, and then go on from there? I don't know. It's certainly going to be a tough test for Nick, whoever he fights, to certainly perform at the highest level and obviously perform at the Nick Diaz we were capable of seeing back in God knows how long ago. So it'll be an interesting one to see. But I know obviously Carlos Condit is obviously a good name. I've also heard Dan Hardy put his name in the hat. So that'll be an interesting one as well, whether that goes through. But again, it's just, I don't know if I want to see Dan Hardy step back in the octagon again. I think you see with all these retired fighters and some of them want to come back into the cage, that's just encouraging other fighters to sort of step back into the octagon. Well, if he's going to do it, so should I. And then it just tarnishes their legacy big time. But I want to see Nick Diaz fight personally. Who doesn't?
Yeah, I'm not big on comebacks in any sport. I think if you retired at not if Andrew Luck retires and comes back, that makes sense to me. He's a young guy. He retired before it was time for him to retire. If a guy like that comes back, I get it. But if you just aren't fighting the same anymore and you retire, or you're getting older and you retire, I don't particularly like to see guys come back. My excitement for it is definitely outpaced by my knowledge of why they stopped fighting in the first place. Very few people retire on top and come back and are fight at a high level again. It's just if you retired and it's been a couple of years, I feel like maybe stay
in your lane,
do something else.
Yeah, what gassed me up for UFC 244 was when there was talks of Nick Diaz returning, and then we saw him in Nate's corner. That certainly added a lot more hype to the UFC fans. Oh my God, Nate's going to come back. He's cornering Nate in this fight with Jorge Masvidal. He's going to come back. So I don't know. As a fan, I was certainly gassed to see that, and to see him make the walk to the octagon. It's incredible. And obviously, we're all Nick Diaz fans in a way. We all love it when the Diaz brothers show up together, preferably. And I'm all for his return, but does it make a lot of sense? Hell no, but I still want to see it.
That's fair. I want to see. Stipe just put out a quote not too long ago where he said, "If Brock Lesnar comes back to the UFC, I think I should get to fight him," and that would be a comeback. I'd love to. Yeah. I'd love to see. That's one where I'm like, yeah, he maybe not a great idea, but I'd love to see him come back anyways and fight.
No, maybe that's just the big payday that Miocic has been looking for, I guess.
He must have gotten a bag for that last Cormier fight, right?
Yeah. I don't know. The numbers are probably there somewhere, but he's definitely got a lot, but probably not as much as he, anticipated before the fight. I reckon, from my sort of standpoint, anyway. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the numbers. It's probably out there. He definitely, almost certainly, got a lot, but whether it's a lot more or a lot less than he expected, who knows?
Well, he should be more controversial.
Stir the pot a little bit more.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that are making it.
That are making a lot of money, yeah. Is that Connor's fault, or does it go back further than that, do you think? Where it's really like how much money you're making is tied to how big of a personality you are outside of the octagon?
I think Conor McGregor certainly influenced it. He encouraged a lot more fighters to come out and sort of state how much they're truly worth, because I think certainly back in the day, a lot of fighters weren't going to come out of their shell and demand a big payday. Whereas you see nowadays on bloody Twitter and social media, you've got all sorts of various fighters probably no one's ever heard of demanding, big paydays. So I certainly think he definitely influenced it, Conor McGregor.
I think Chael helped a lot with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't let you get close.
I can't let you get close. I love that.
I watch all of his. I'm subscribed to his YouTube channel. I watch all his videos.
Oh, they're brilliant.
So good.
Yeah, he's a lot. Do you guys watch his Submission Underground?
Yeah.
You like that? Did you the last one with who was it? What's her name's husband fought? Paige Van Zandt.
Oh yeah, Austin. Yeah.
Was it Austin? No.
No.
It was Vinny
Vanderford. Austin Vanderford.
Gosh, I can't remember. He fought that Mason Fowler, the guy that beat that Mason Fowler kid. He's the champ now. Is it Mason Fowler? I'm gonna have to look it up now. I'll Google it.
Yeah.
Submission Underground. We didn't even talk about
because Fowler beat I'm gonna blank on names.
Ryan Hall. I just drew a blank too. Was it Ryan Hall?
Craig Jones.
Yeah. He beat him twice, right?
Yeah. Second was very impressive.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't even talk about the main event for this weekend, did we? Did we skip the main event? Moraes and Sandhagen?
No, we talked about it. I think most of us took I took Sandhagen. I think.
Did James and Scott? Did you guys say who you liked?
I was certainly an avid listener last night of your predictions.
Oh, today.
Scott and James, we didn't get your guys' take on those.
Yeah.
Scott, you go first. Throwing you under the bus a bit here, mate.
Yeah, I like Moraes. I think people are low on Moraes due to his last two performances, but like Henry Cejudo, one of the GOATs. And then people are low on him due to the Jose Aldo fight. But he lost round 2 to Jose Aldo, but Peter Yan just lost round 2 to Jose Aldo as well. It's like Jose Aldo's not washed. So I don't like this idea that people are low on Moraes over that. And then Sandhagen, I like Sandhagen, but he's often giving up position for aggression. He does it on the ground. He gives up passes. He gives up takedowns, and he does it on the feet too. He's willing to give up angles. He gives up foot position, and I think against a talented striker like Moraes, it's going to lead to danger.
Do you think how big of a difference? It's a big height difference. Do you think that's going to be a big factor at all, or do you think Moraes can weave his way through that?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big difference in skill on the feet. So it could be a factor. I just don't think it's going to be a massive factor. Fair.
James,
I totally agree. I think if the fight goes towards the latter rounds, into your championship rounds, then I sort of see Sandhagen getting the W somehow. But Moraes certainly does have the ability to get it done early on. When you look at Sandhagen, he does a wonderful job, from my sort of opinion, when closing the distance. But there is that sort of aggression within his game, and he's certainly going to be wanting to get back on the winning column, especially after he's that close to potentially earning himself a title fight after the loss to Sterling. So he's obviously going to want to put in a very big performance. But you look at Moraes, there's obviously, like you said, touched upon earlier, there is definitely that size difference. Whether that's going to come up clutch in a way for Sandhagen, I don't know. I think when you look at Moraes on paper, I think one of his greatest assets is certainly his timing. he just seems to be able to like understand the movements very quickly and comes to grips with his opponent's game style and the game plan very early on. And once he gets a hold and a grasp of how they're approaching their specific fight, he can sort of implement his striking bait accordingly and based on what could sort of counter and affect his opponent. So I think if the fight, gets done early on, and then I see Moraes taking this one because, I'm a big fan of Magic Marlon Moraes. I mean, he's certainly a monstrous striker at 135, but Corey Sandhagen is legit. And obviously, like I said, he's going to be wanting to avenge that last defeat to Aljamain Sterling, get his name back in the win column, and certainly put his name back in the mix for a fight with Petr Yan down the line. But I've got Marlon Moraes all day long in this one. It's very split because I saw you guys, you're all on Sandhagen bandwagon, aren't you? With this fight tomorrow anyway.
I'm with Scott. I like Moraes.
Oh,
really?
I'm alone today.
Yeah, I think Moraes gets it done, man. I'm going to echo everything that Scott said. I'm going to echo. I think he finds a way to get it done. I do think James touched on it. We talked about it yesterday. If it goes into the later rounds, I do think Sandhagen has a lot higher chance to get it done in those higher rounds. I really like Moraes' confidence today. I listened to the little interview he did today. I mean, I love the confidence. I think he gets it done, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the main and the co-main, I think there's pretty much two clear outcomes for me. I think if the fight in either one is over in the first round, first even half of the second round, it's definitely Moraes winning the main event. It's definitely Barboza winning in the co-main event. And then for both fights, I think if we're going to a decision or into the last round or something like that, I think it's definitely going to be Sandhagen getting a decision victory or into the later rounds victory. I think it's definitely Amir Khani that's going to take a victory if we end up going all the way out into a decision or into right towards the end of the fight. Thought that was a weird parallel when I was picking the fights, but I don't see Corey Sandhagen getting knocked out. And I think that's pretty much everybody's reasoning on picking Moraes is that he's going to finish him in the first or the second round. And so that's pretty much entirely my reasoning is that I don't think that's going to happen. And then I think Sandhagen takes it by points for sure. I think if we're talking point scorer in a 5-round fight, I'm going to take Like if you told me for sure it's going to a decision after 5 rounds, I would put a lot of money on Sandhagen, and I just don't think he's going to get knocked out in the first or the second round.
Do you think Sandhagen ever wins the first or second round, like just on the judges' scorecards?
I mean, he does crazy shit. He does all kinds of spinning shit. He's got those really sharp elbows and knees, and he loves his ground and pound. His ground game isn't good enough to take Moraes down to the ground into a position where he's going to be able to beat him up with that big King Kong ground and pound he does, though. So no, I don't see any way that it's like a crazy first round Sandhagen KO. But I mean, it's always possible. They're too small though to just for one errant shot to that. I feel like that doesn't happen in the bantamweight division that often, where like one random left hook will just put the guy to sleep.
Yeah. Should be a fun card.
I understand. There's certainly some bangers on that card this weekend.
Yeah, I did. I just saw a quote that I thought was interesting on Twitter from Germaine Durandame that she said she'll retire on the spot if she gets beat by Amanda Nunes again.
Well, she's got to beat Holly Holm first before she gets that.
Yeah,
I know, but that was her. That's what she said. If I lose to Amanda Nunes another time, I'll retire on the spot. So
early retirement, I guess.
There's that to look forward to. Yeah, I think Holly Holm is going to fight Amanda. I think that's the.
I don't want to see it again.
Who else?
Just the way she beat the living crap out of Holm last time they fought. Like you said, there's genuinely nobody else. And Dana did say whoever wins this fight between obviously before Aldana and Holm, the winner of that fight would get the next shot at Amanda because there's no one at featherweight. And realistically, the only options at bantamweight were either Holm or Aldana. So it's certainly a tough one. But again, I don't want to see it. But then thinking about it after Anderson, that's definitely the fight to make. But I'm not.
Holly looked very good in that last fight.
We're just going to write off Megan Anderson. She doesn't have a chance.
I don't think. So. Do you think she has a chance?
No, I don't, but I just like to throw it out there and see.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody does. You know, hey, they did just have a kid. So her and her wife just had a brand new baby. You know, maybe that affects training a little bit. Maybe it just brings her down from here to here.
But even then, that's still enough to dominate the divisions.
Yeah, she's still above, but just not that much more above.
Yeah.
But maybe that motivated her more.
What's Chris Cyborg up to these days? I have no idea, actually.
She's got a fight coming up, I think. Yeah, doesn't she have a fight coming up in Bellator, I think?
Yeah, very soon, I think.
Yeah.
And it's only in the next coming weeks.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's really quick. I'll be checking.
She's got the strap over there right now, right?
Yeah. I think she got it in either her first or second fight. I think it was at first.
Yeah, first fight, Julia Budd.
Yeah, it's next Thursday. She's fighting next Thursday.
She's fighting next Thursday?
Yeah. Yep.
How do you think a rematch with her and Amanda goes?
Same
way, I think. Yeah. No one's stopping Nunes right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's
she's
such a boring take to have. I'm looking for like a hot take, but it's just
she's got nobody.
This chick that she's fighting is no joke. I've seen her fight a couple times in Bellator. This Arlene Blencow, the Hawaiian chick. I've seen her fight a couple times. She could cause some trouble. Not Hawaiian, I'm sorry, Australian. She could cause some trouble. I mean, I don't know if it's enough to beat Cyborg, but
no.
You're like, no, ain't gonna happen. You don't think it's gonna happen, James?
No, I mean, I think after her loss to Nunes, I certainly think she's certainly found a comfort zone at Bellator. It's probably going to be one of them whereby she dominates her opponents. But in a way, like obviously you said, you've seen her opponent fight, and if there's a way for her to get it done, I believe you. But I just don't see Cyborg losing that title anytime soon.
You know what's crazy is I thought she was closer to 40 years old. She's only 35. She's still got a solid couple. She's still got a solid couple years left in her.
How old's Amanda?
She's a lot older than that.
Yeah, 35 years old. Amanda is how old is Amanda?
There, she's 32.
Yeah, man.
So we're not going to get anybody new in either one of those divisions for the next 5 years. That's lovely.
It is an interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
What was it?
They should do a 145-pound Ultimate Fighter. Give the winner a title shot. Start growing the division.
There we go. There we go. I like that.
I like that too. Danielle
Wolf.
Do
they just get rid of it?
Danielle Wolf is on a contract now.
No.
Dana really wants to get rid of it.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Wolf?
I've heard him say, after I think it was Anderson. Who else was there? He was thinking. He was definitely. I've heard.
Oh, get rid of the division.
Oh, the division. I was like, Daniel Wolf. I think they're.
No.
Danielle Wolf. I was like, she just won on the Contender Series. What do you mean?
No. The division. Yeah, sorry.
She's got a lot of upside. Like, she could bring a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
If she, even though I wasn't that impressed with her Contender Series victory, I thought she lost, but I can see why Dana signed her.
I love the idea of an active 145-pound women's division. I would love to see just some big Jack girls duke it out in there. And there's a bunch of big Jack girls in the world. We're not, in like 10 years, the UFC will be glad that it has that division. It's just for the women's side of things, it's not nearly, because like every guy at this point is like sees a UFC fight and like has that brief wonder, whether or not you follow through on it, has that brief like wondering of like, oh, well, I wonder if I could do that. But I don't think we've reached the saturation in the general public where the ladies are looking at that as a sport that they pursue. There's probably a lot of girls in like the WNBA and shit that would be pretty good in the UFC if they had been training for it for a while, but like they're playing other sports.
Yeah. Although I do think the women's MMA game has grown rapidly.
Yeah.
Very much, but for the bigger girls, they are playing. They like have D1 scholarships for other sports and stuff. So with the smaller girls, it's like it's harder to find men's heavyweight contenders that are actually skilled. It's kind of the same situation, I think. But we're not at the saturation where like those athletic girls view the UFC as a legitimate like alternative to playing in the WNBA or like playing professional international women's volleyball or Olympic track athletes and stuff like that. We don't have any of those, whereas we've got world-class athletes that are not going into other sports in the men's division specifically because they want to fight MMA.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
good.
in 10 years, I think the women's featherweight division is going to be popping. Maybe we'll even get a women's lightweight division.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Jesus.
Get them in there, man. Get them in
There's
there.
a bunch of girls that big in the world. They just aren't fighting yet.
We need to get 105 first.
Atom weight?
Yeah, there's some talented atomweights out there.
Yeah.
They're all like in Ryzen now, and we need to get them over here.
Some of those Invicta atom weight fights that I've seen have been wild. 105 pounds.
Do you guys like the scoring that they do in Invicta? They do it the live scoring, basically. They let them know what the round was. You guys like that? Would you want to know if you were fighting?
I don't think I realized they did that, but I mean, I like that. The corner's already sitting there either lying to them or being honest with them about what the score is anyways. You might as well know what every other sport, you know what the score is during the game.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. I mean, if it was 2-2 going into the final round, I want to know, well, it might be 3-1, but going into the final round, the championship rounds, that's when we may see the best of both fighters fighting in that cage. I could be certainly a round or two down. This is my opportunity to either get the finish or certainly impress on the judges' scorecard. So if I'm that fighter, I'm certainly going to be wanting my cornermen to tell me if I'm losing, winning, or what have you, because it's certainly going to motivate you going into the next 5 minutes, because it could be all or nothing for you. I mean, that could cost you your UFC career or MMA career, what have you. You could get cut, and there certainly will be a lot at stake. So I'm all for that, that judging scoring.
I like it.
Well, and I could see a case where people would coast to a victory if they knew that they were up 2-0, where like maybe there was a close round, but they can see that the judges gave it to them. They're not going to fight for a finish because they know for a fact that they'll win a decision if they're up 2-0. Like the clock management in football, like you don't go for a touchdown if you're already up and there's only 2 minutes left and you have the ball. I
don't think it'll change much, because I think you see guys kind of already do that anyways, but then you see guys like, look at Gilbert Burns when he fought Tyron Woodley. Like he was still bringing it in the 4th and 5th round, and he was clearly ahead. Even in the 5th round, like he was clearly winning, and he was still out there going for broke.
Yeah.
I think the fighter mentality is a little bit different. I mean, I know you're going to get it. You're still going to get that, but I think overall the consensus, these guys want to fight. They're in there for a reason.
What if there's a bullshit decision too in one of the rounds? You know how we all find out at the end of a fight that a judge is smoking crack before they judge. Imagine finding that out after like round 2 that you like think you clearly just won a round, and the judges come over and say you didn't win that round. You're down 0-2. I mean, what are you gonna? I mean, you can sit like you got your corner guys sitting there yelling at the judges as you're trying to go in for round 3. So that's kind of
that could get a little ugly. That could get a little ugly
because you don't have. It's not a sport where you have the opportunity to argue with the judges or the referee.
Yeah,
really. Like you did what they say is gonna go, and Dana can complain about it later. But like you and your corner don't get to argue with them.
I think LFA tried that out a couple weeks ago on one of their events. I could be wrong, but I could have swore I saw them trying that out on one of their events too.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to do it. It'd be different. I think not too different, but it'd be interesting. I would love to know what the score was as a viewer at home during the broadcast.
That would that would be good.
I mean, in World Series of Poker, they show us what the cards are. I mean,
true.
Yeah,
very true. Yankees are up 1-0, by the way.
Yeah. I was going to say, if anybody's got anything else big coming up that they wanted to chat about, let's do it. But otherwise, we've been going for a good hour 20. Should we say this was a success? And
I think so. Yeah. It's dinner time.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go.
Bedtime for James.
Wait a little bit. Oh yeah, it's late for you.
Yeah, coming up to 1:30.
Oh man. Yeah.
All right. Well, gents, this has been good. I think we'll probably definitely start doing this again in the future. You know, it's real nice to do the series breakdown on Thursday, and then just they kind of get to chat about whatever on Friday.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I certainly like the new segment because this is the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is the first time we've done a live stream that wasn't the Thursday breakdown one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on, guys.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming out, guys, and I'm sure I'll be chatting with all of you tomorrow during the fights.
Roger that. See you guys.
Take care, guys. Cheers.